Just barely. Thank you.
Okay, well, now that we have Stuart on board, I will call the meeting to order. I'd like to call to order the February 7th, 2022 Inland Wetlands and Watercourses regular meeting for the town of Woodstock. It is now currently 7:15 by my computer digital timer. And we'll begin by having a roll call of members present online.
Bill Verwinski,
Stuart Peasley,
Marla,
And Mark Parker. And there are
Sorry,
no
I was
other.
muted. Marla Butts. Sorry.
Yeah, Marla is on. That's right. And there's no other alternates, no other members. So, but we have enough of a quorum that we can now continue on with business. Action on minutes of the previous meeting from January.
I have a few comments. This is Bill.
Go ahead, Bill.
Under the call to order, I was serving as chairman, so Mark did not call the meeting to order, I believe.
Yep.
I think, Amy, if you made the minutes, you were working off a recording. And the reason for that is that I was in person and Mark was at home recovering from surgery.
Yeah, and because of that, I think I joined the meeting late, but I let you continue on seated as chairman for the rest of the meeting.
So should the minutes read in the call to order? Vice Chair William Rosinski called the meeting to order at 7:05. And then members present, put in Mark Parker, in parentheses, arrived late.
Late online, right? Yeah,
Well, Mark
Yeah,
was
late
there.
online.
Mark was there when we called the meeting to order. It's just he was remote and remained remote.
right.
Because Marla, you asked him whether he would rather have me run the meeting since I was present.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Right.
So Mark was remote.
So you could just say Vice Chairman William Rowinski called the meeting to order at 7:05 p.m.
Mhm.
That Mark Parker was
That's
remote.
acceptable to me.
Yep. And
I didn't
that-
see any other issues with the rest of the minutes.
Right, and that the question I was going to ask was at the very end, it said adjournment. Mark Parker made a motion to adjourn, and I was thinking, wait a minute, the chairman doesn't usually make the motion to adjourn, but now I remember why I made the motion, because Bill was the chairman for the meeting. I was just a seated member, so that's appropriate that I was the one to make that motion. For that particular meeting.
Well, nothing else jumped out at me. So just with that change, I propose to approve the minutes of the January 10th, 2022 Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency minutes with the changes of Vice Chairman William Rowinski call the meeting to order at 7:05 p.m.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made by Bill Rowinski, seconded by Marla Butts to approve the minutes with the corrections noted, with Bill Rowinski being seated as chairman for that night. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Okay. Preliminary discussion. Roman numeral 5. Letter A, Lake Bungie lot discussion. Kathleen Allison. Okay. Okay, Ashley, do you want to introduce that or have Kathleen?
Sure, yeah,
start, or-
Kathleen has some questions to ask you about some work they want to do. I do have some pictures that she sent me this afternoon. They are in your file folder, but I can also screen share them if you need me to. And I'll let them.
I'm
chat
gonna
with-
need you to, because I tried to open them and I ended up with blank screens. So this was the
Okay.
little horn pictures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are kind of small, but let me go ahead and share them with you. So we'll do them one at a time and I'll let her kind of speak on them.
So my name is Kathleen Ellison and I'm on the Lake Bungay Board of Directors. I'm the compliance chair. We had come before this board on June 7th of last year based on a complaint from an abutting neighbor regarding the community beach area. And we went through what was a regulated activity, what clear cutting was, and it was deemed that the work that we were doing. So if you're looking at the pictures, see all the like the little small scraggly trees, things, you know, falling over, just kind of a mess. Our plan has been and continues to be to clean all of those trees up. Some of them are, you know, over 2 inches, but the plan is to take all of that brush and scraggly trees down, any dead trees, trim the all the limbs up to at least 6 or 7 feet so people can walk through there, because we plan on putting a picnic table, everything we described last year. So that was June 7th of last year. We've periodically gone down there and done different types of work, cleaning up and cutting. And every time it becomes an issue with the abutting neighbor yelling at us about not having a permit to do it, which it was a non-regulated activity. So we did need a permit. So what I'm trying to clarify here is to have exactly that. We can continue the work we're doing, but we can cut down trees that are over 2 inches in diameter. And there's some more pictures you can like sort of see a little bit. This picture is looking at it. So if you're on the water looking at the lot, you'll see like where that car is parked, there's that open area right there, which is like the beach area where we had planned on putting sand there. Not in the water, just up on the shore, so people can fish from there, or they could put their kayak or canoe in from there. There's no swimming, no launching any big boats from there. So I guess I'm just really asking for clarification. Can we cut down trees that are bigger than 2 inches in diameter? We're not clear cutting. We're going to leave a lot of the big trees. And if you look at picture 3, this is basically what we want it to look like along the shore. There is like, you know, we're going to cut down all the trees so there's open areas for picnic tables so people can walk through and put some mulch down and then just put some sand down in just on the shore, nothing in the water. So I guess I'm asking for clarification that these activities are still not regulated and it's okay to continue moving forward with cleaning up this area.
Mark, I'm looking at the minutes from June 7th of last year. And at that time, you noted that we were doing regulated activities on a case-by-case basis and not every action requires a permit. You also clarified the definition of clear cutting as identified in page 4 of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses regulations. I stated at that time that based on the photos provided of the work completed, it would be determined a non-regulated use per the regulations, and that was section 4.2. Furthermore, the agency members received additional information that the Lake Association is proposing to perform at the site, and Tina LaJoy received the information prior to the start of the meeting. This proposed additional work was read into those attendants and noted for the record. And I'm not sure what that exactly was, but it says based on the photos reviewed from the original work and the discussion on the activities proposed in the correspondence received prior to the meeting, I stated that the activities proposed would be classified as a non-regulated use because it does not alter the natural indigenous character of the wetland and watercourse as described, and it would be covered under recreational area. That is section 4.2 of the regulations, paragraph B. And I would say as long as some of the large trees are still going to remain, it still would be the same. We're not talking earth moving work. We're talking just cutting of trees. And I would consider the clearing out of the understory and leaving some of the larger trees without really doing any earth moving work. I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem with what I'm seeing from the photographs either.
So if you're looking at the third photograph, you're looking down, that's the area. You can see like where there's really large trees. We would leave all the large trees. It's everything kind of in between that's
Mhm.
either fallen down or dead or just, we can't walk through it or put a picnic table or anything. And again, I just want to be clear that, so say this tree here is in front of us is 5 or 6 inches in diameter. It's okay to take that down.
Mhm. As long as you're not clear cutting,
Okay.
as long as
Yeah,
you
we have no
leave at
intentions of
least
clear
some,
cutting.
yeah, the definition in clear cutting is you have to keep, and I don't think it was 2 inches. I thought it was 4 inches diameter at breast height. That you had, and it doesn't say over what aerial extent.
Okay.
Is the concern of your neighbor the fact that they might have an unobstructed view of the parking area? Is that, could be their concern?
No, she just doesn't like any trees cut down. It's simply
Oh,
a tree issue.
Okay. Okay.
I would only add that if there's any stump removal, that would be a different story, though. If you're going to do any grading or stump removal or, you know, raking out the dirt, then that's a different story.
We can cut it flush.
Yes.
So we could cut it flush to the ground, but not actually remove the root ball of the tree.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think if I recall correctly, back in June, the request was also at that time to remove the understory and
Correct.
to remove some of the smaller vegetation. I don't think there's
Yeah.
going to real change in the proposed work, other than
No,
that you might be cutting some trees a little bit larger than 2 inches.
Correct, exactly.
Yes.
So all that kind of like
Yeah.
brush laying down there and all those like little vines everywhere, it's cleaning all that up, cleaning all the leaves up, cleaning all those little trees, trimming the trees up so people can walk through without bonking their heads on a limb. And then just putting some sand in that area, that open area, which is not in the lake.
Yeah, there's a couple snap offs that are of like no value. Like if you looked at the stump, it might be, maybe 8 inches or something, but it's like only, 12 feet high because it snapped off and then grew some, some ugly branches.
Ashley, have you received any complaints from the neighbor?
No, I have not.
I don't think the position of the commission should change. I don't think it requires a vote either.
I'm just bringing a note that in our definitions, our regulations, clear cutting means the harvest of timber in a fashion which removes all trees down to a 2-inch diameter at breast height. So it actually is that way in our regulations.
Okay.
That doesn't change anything either, so.
So we're clear to cut anything
Yeah.
over 2 inches. I just want it for the record, because this is, as soon as we walk down, there's just it's just, they're gonna come at us with it yelling. So thank you very much for your time and
Yes.
going through this with me again. I really, really appreciate it.
Especially finding out you're all volunteers. It's really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, moving on to preliminary discussion B, Roman numeral, Roman numeral 5, letter B, 01-22-03 timber harvest notification. Just as an introduction, I set up a meeting with Darcy Winter, who is the DEP lead staff person who runs the state's inland wetlands and watercourses training program, and a lot of the questions and things that come up statewide with inland wetlands agency issues. I set up a meeting with her and Ashley because I had some questions about how we deal with timber harvest applications and notifications, and what should we require on our forms. And I was a little concerned that we didn't have quite enough information on the approval that we gave last month. And so Darcy assured us that that it wasn't a terrible thing that we did, approving it. But that it certainly was within our purview to request more information and concur on, getting the appropriate map block lot numbers that the application is going to be covering. And so she told, she said it would probably be the best thing. And I also explained to her how I had to deal with, because I was kind of close to this particular application that came up, and that I was concerned that, if I did participate in discussion or vote, would that be considered a conflict of interest? And, so I told her what we did, that I had recused myself from the voting. So she just kind of calmed me down, and she just kind of explained things to us that it was okay to go back and ask for more information, and to make sure that, we had the right lots and plots down, et cetera. And all that. She said it would probably be best that after I introduce this issue tonight, that then I step back. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna step back. I won't participate in discussion, but I'm gonna let Ashley take it from here. And Darcy had given Ashley some recommendations that she contact the applicants and get more information and so forth. And so I'm going to step back now at this point, and Ashley, why don't you take it from there, and you can explain what you did with Darcy's recommendations.
Sure. So we got another map from the applicant's harvester, which you should have all received, and/or it's in the folder. There was some question and dispute on the lot. We can definitely let Chris speak on that and then kind of catch you guys up to date. Do you guys have any questions on the new map or looking at it? Were you guys all able to open it?
I have it.
Which file is that, Ashley?
It's the first one, 01-22-03 timber harvest notification. And then there's like the application, and then
Yep.
the Wentworth harvest REV February PDF.
Is that the one we want to look at? The
Yes.
revised?
I believe so. That's the newest one.
And the other one of interest is the one with all the survey details on it.
And I'll pull that up.
Right, the one that
And who
says
is
survey
that
summary.
speaking?
Yeah.
Excuse me,
said
Chris
that? Who was
Cassidy,
speaking?
representing Chris McCretsky's logging.
Got it.
So it's not uncommon that the piece that we're working with doesn't have a survey on file. So what we have to do is then go around to all the adjacent parcels, dig through their deeds, and come up with the survey information we can find to do the boundary information. The piece that we have in question is 7042, the one that says in circle, that one right there. The landowner, Jeremy Wentworth, insists that he owns it, and Mr. Parker insists that the Withers still own it. So, that's certainly not something we can solve tonight, but, that's, I think, what we're here to discuss.
And Ashley should have checked with the assessors and tax collectors records to see if in fact the Withers are paying the taxes on that.
Yeah, I
lot
guess,
42.
yep.
Yeah.
And that's
So-
it right there?
Yeah, it looks like according to Vision, I heard last week that the assessor was in contact with Kevin Withers, but she was out before I could talk to her again. So like according to this record, it's Kevin.
Uh-huh.
I can follow up again with her next week.
Yeah. No, I mean,
But that's all I know. That's
Yeah, I
what I
mean,
have
listen,
on record.
we've been doing this a long time. It's also not uncommon for landowners to say they own things that they don't own. So I'm not here to dispute that. This looks like the proof that we would need. The survey map that we used on the Boyso property was from there was a timber company actually that owned all those blocks back there. And that's what led me to believe that those parcels were included within that one. So I guess clearly, if you got a tax bill showing that Mr. Withers is paying taxes on that, then we'll flag that off and not go in there.
Sure.
I'm assuming we've checked the deed, the book and page too. That's 616-396, and that's the most accurate one.
Yeah, I actually just had that open, but yes.
All
Give me
right.
1 second and I'll pull it up.
So I apologize for jumping in. I just want to, just for administrative clarification. So then should the submitted timber harvest map, the one labeled Wentworth Harvest Revised Map, that map should reflect and agree that with the survey summary map, and kind of block off that lot 42 area,
Yes. Yep.
Which-
that
which-
should be
which-
revised again. Yep.
which covers, you see that middle green trail that goes up right into that area where lot 42 is?
Yep.
That's what I would expect, that at least for now, for the initial, like, let's call this phase 1 of the project. That would be an area that you're not going to go into at this point in time for your
Correct.
your harvest plan.
Yep. And that is an established road, and it is also penciled in on the survey summary. So that's been there a long time. But we will stay out of there for now.
I noticed on your timber harvest map that you blocked off a little green area up near the top of the property, and
Yeah.
that said lot in dispute. That should be down further down. Because the lot that's in dispute is lot 42, which is kind of directly in line to the west of lot 11, not 11,
11A.
lot 12. Yeah,
Oh.
lot 12, which is down kind of in the bottom. It's like it's another Withers
Yeah.
property that juts out. And if you go west of that lot 12, you'll bump right up. You'll go right through lot 11 and bump into lot 42. You see
And
what
you're
I'm
saying
saying?
there's a discrepancy between that and what I drew in?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll revise that.
Yep.
All right.
So you can kind of see on the two maps. Oops, I'm sorry. So you have your like lot in dispute up here, but on our town GIS, the
It's down a
42
little
is
lower,
down
yeah,
here.
Yeah.
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 And then here's the latest deed. This is from 2016, so this is the last thing posted, but the map block and lot 42
Okay.
to Kevin.
I guess the only other thing that would cause a discrepancy is if the volume and page from when Mr. Wentworth bought the Boyso piece also included that parcel.
It could have.
You
There could
know,
definitely be discrepancies in the deeds.
that would be the only other thing that I think we would have to check.
Yeah,
But if there was
Actually,
two deeds on the same parcel, that would be a weird one. That's for sure.
Ashley, you'll need, Ashley, you'll need to do that. And I can tell you that you'll need to dig back before when Mr. Sheldon and Mr. Busso bought it, because I did some checking personally, and there was some inserted language when the lot was sold to Mr. Busso that was never there before. And that inserted language then drew in lot 42.
Oh,
So
yeah?
anyway, yeah, you're gonna
That's
need.
why there would be a difference in the survey map and the deed then, huh?
Exactly,
Interesting.
exactly.
Do you have the ability to check 691, 351 now or no?
Yeah. 691.
Yep.
Tract 1. Yeah, that's containing about 5 or more acres. That's not the same piece? Well, see there, we need to look at that map right there. The above described track one premise as shown as lot 43 on that survey. And that's, I think, where I fell into, unless that's the one at the top. We can't pull up surveys now though, huh?
Yes, we should be able to. Give me 1 second to search for it.
I've been to several inland wetland meetings. This is definitely different. Going through this stuff. This is good. But I do apologize to those that are later in the agenda.
Well, one of the things I want to ask my fellow inland wetlands members is, you know, in our form, we have a block on the front page where we ask the applicants to list the exact lot, you know, block lot numbers, which this particular application did not have it written in that. We have since we received one just last week from Hull Forest Products for another property, and they did include the block, you know, map block lot numbers for it. So
Now
you
this
know,
precisely is the map that I was going by.
yeah.
So,
And it,
yeah, because the lot 11 is 32.52 acres, and this is 11A.
right. So that's showing lot 42 included with 11. With 11, there's no 11A.
Wait. Okay, right.
And it says it also includes that top piece, number 43, which I have out, but I guess it is in. It is in.
That,
But
so this is the map that's in question. It is the way back when this property was being surveyed by KWP. The Withers family was aware of it, and we confronted them and we said, no, that's not right, because they already owned lot 42. And there was some back and forth, and I guess we couldn't stop them from applying it to the town, but the town never took action and accepted it. They continued to accept that the Withers family had owned that since 1980.
I understand that, but the Wentworth deed just came through last summer, and it includes this map and as the description. So I just hope you can understand why we're having this discussion here. It's not for lack of evidence. I mean, when was this map drawn?
2004.
2004. Right. Yeah.
And this is the map that's referred to in the deed that was just granted to the Wentworths, 2021, 2020?
21, yeah.
Yeah.
And it says 32 acres. And
it's also not uncommon that assessors maps are wrong, and that's why I kind of always go by the A2 survey.
Yeah, well, see, that was the funny thing is, the assessor's map was pre-existing, before, the Brousseaus brought the property. And it's like, so yeah, this is probably a discussion we should have with like our town's attorney and the selectmen, because.
Well, I don't know about that, but.
Well, I yeah, just.
It's definitely a civil matter, certainly not a wetlands issue.
Right. But on the wetlands forms, which I'm going to ask my fellow commission members, we're going to need to discuss, why we ask on our form for the exact lot and plot numbers,
right.
And also, that which is what we use to determine who the true property owners are of that lot. We don't always just go to A1 or A2 survey maps. We
Well, usually you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, well, you're right. And then, what was the other point I was gonna, now I lost my train of thought.
Well, hey,
Oh, yeah,
click
yeah.
back on that deed. Go back on the deed for a second, and it scroll down a little bit. Track 2, because I believe that's the track that we're talking about. Same person in Sweden. Blah blah blah.
Well, I will
Survey
point out,
plan.
yeah.
Lot 11 on the survey plan. I'm just seeing if there's any omission or any, not including such and such. But it doesn't. If you can keep scrolling down, Ashley, is there anything at the bottom of this deed description, or was that it?
Does,
This is
does,
the next page.
does lot 11 say, does lot 11 say how
At the
much, how many
bottom,
acres,
the
how many
above
acres?
term, Brian,
Yeah,
Okay.
32.52 right here.
described track, same premise,
Okay.
Brian Schilling, blah blah blah. Both
Okay.
the
I'll
above tracks
interrupt,
are
Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mark, this is a discussion that really doesn't need to be before the Wetlands Commission at this
No,
point in
Right,
time.
right,
The
no.
commission
right.
does not
Exactly.
determine ownership.
Right.
And if it's a question of whether or not they're going to be doing some harvesting on land that's not authorized to be
Right.
harvested on, the fact that they don't have the listing of all the properties by map, block, lot, that can indicate that there was an omission. The other thing is that form that the town has in use was a form that I generated from a notification form that was developed by the organization. I can't remember what the name was, but it's a group of foresters. They put it together as a notification form and suggested that their representatives use that form. Well, that was just a notification form. It was not an application, a request for a use permitted as of right for a timber harvest. So
Okay.
that form was modified. The exact same information that was in there was put into this form and modified slightly to require certain signatures to have right of access onto private property,
Right.
which
right.
the original form did not have. A sign off by the Wetlands Commission saying, yes, we've given it our blessing. So the information that's contained in there originally came from professional foresters, and that
Right.
was about 7 years ago, I think, or 8 years
Right.
ago, maybe a little longer than that now. But I think the discussion that we're having here, the Wetlands Commission has authorized work in wetlands and water courses, but they don't transfer property rights.
Right.
So if there's any property there that is not actually owned by the people who are claiming they own it, that's going to be a civil matter at
Yep.
this point in time. That's my opinion at this
But
point.
Marla,
Now, if
going
there are
through what
problems
we
with the
just looked at,
assessors,
do you see the discrepancy? How the survey map is different than the assessor's map? And
you
the
know
deed
what, I unfortunately, my internet connection is through satellite, and it
Oh.
has not a wide enough broadband to see all the documents on a timely fashion.
All right.
So I'd have to actually go online myself and do the review.
Yeah, yeah. But Ashley, you're
independent
picking up
of
on it. You
this
saw
meeting.
it, right? And Mark, do you understand why we made the decisions we made?
Yep.
How would you like to move forward?
I'm just saying that whatever you have that's in potential discrepancy, don't do the cutting there until you've got that resolved,
Sure.
regardless. Because the
Okay.
Wetlands Commission does not transfer property rights.
No,
Just
no, I
because the
understand
Wetlands
this is not a
Commission
matter for this
approves a
commission. I
permit.
do, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's at this juncture, it belongs somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
I would like to ask one more question on the format of our front page. At the bottom of the top paragraph of the timber harvest permit form that we provide to applicants, it says, note, if the timber harvest covers multiple properties with different owners, then a separate request for approval must be filed for each of the different property owners. So that's where I'm struggling with, oh, well then, should we be requesting, multiple, if there's multiple property owners involved in the project, then should we be asking for, a separate form from each of the properties?
The answer is yes.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
each property owner signs off on the application.
But that's
on
not
the
what we're
request
dealing
for
with
timber
here.
harvest.
Yeah,
Okay.
no. So Mark, how would you like to move forward? Now, we're going to stay out of that area. Obviously,
I
there's
like
a
mo- yeah,
discrepancy
I
in
like-
the maps, right?
I like Marla's suggestion. Marla, can you kind of word that where, move forward and, I did mention earlier, maybe we could call this phase 1. move forward on all the uncontested property area and,
Yeah.
you know, hold off on. I don't know, that's just my suggestion, but I don't know.
Yeah,
There's a civil liability if they go on to somebody else's property and cut wood.
yeah.
There are laws regarding cutting timber on somebody else's property. For the most part, this is not a wetlands issue.
No.
This is
Right,
an
right.
ownership issue right now. So
Right,
that's
right,
not the
right.
Wetlands Commission's charge.
But
Right.
So-
what I'd like to propose is that all the information, including the discrepancy, is in the possession of the town of Woodstock. Could we have the assessor maybe take a look at the documents that Ashley just showed us, the deeds, the survey map, the town's assessor's map, and maybe get her 2 cents or his 2 cents, and go from there? Would
These
that
are
be
civil
enough?
matters that they're probably not going to weigh in on.
No, I understand it's
Just
a civil
like the
matter if
Wetlands
something goes
Commission shouldn't be
wrong, but it
weighing in on it.
Yeah,
but it's a discrepancy within the town of Woodstock's records also, Marla, isn't it?
right. So,
If it's a legal matter that there's a discrepancy in the records that should be pursued through the property owner's legal counsel to get resolved.
Ah,
That's not
Interesting.
something that the Wetlands Commission could do, and it's not, the
no,
assessor
I know
may
it's not
find
the
a way
Wetlands
to
Commission, but
assist you
usually,
in clarifying it, but at this juncture, I don't think we should be talking about it any further in this proceeding.
fair enough. We'll continue this
Understood.
discussion, Mark.
yeah, outside, yeah.
We'll start an email back and forth and go, but I think I'd like the next step would be have the assessor take a look and see what she says and go from there. But
Yeah.
we'll stay out of there for now. Mr. McCretsky, are we good with this? We must
Yeah,
have
I'm-
lost him.
No,
Or he's
I'm good.
muted.
No, I'm not muted. Can you hear me
Oh.
now?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm not gonna go in there until it's resolved.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Chris, let me get in touch with you, and I'm thinking maybe you, me, the assessor, and maybe the town attorney. I'd like to, you know, the town has an attorney on retainer, you know, to deal with.
Well, let's
issues,
let's
you
have
know,
them
yeah,
look at it. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying, Mark.
right.
You don't need us. We just have
Yeah,
them
right.
look at it and then see
Yeah.
what they say, and we'll go from there.
Okay,
Yeah, I have work to do. Chris has work to do. You know, that'll be our next step. Okay.
Exactly.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay. Great. I apologize for taking up all your time, but it was different. That's for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
All righty.
Thank you.
Good. Yep. Good night.
Bye.
I will state for the record, this is Bill Rowinski, that I agree with Marla's assessment of the situation.
Okay. What's that? Open up the agenda. Roman numeral number 6, pending applications. Letter A, application 11-21-11, James Bentley, 33 Marcy Road, expand pond replacement, culvert pipe and concrete pipes and maintenance on stream. Okay.
Mark, I have read Norm Tybo's letter that he signed and sealed where he makes a recommendation. This was a letter dated January 20th to James Bentley, a copy of which was forwarded to us. And he makes a long description, but he doesn't provide a plan. It would be very helpful if we had a drawing which showed what he was recommending. I was having a hard time understanding what his 5 components, what everything was, how it was supposed to lay out. So I guess my question to Mr. Bentley is he prepared to have Killingly Engineering Associates develop up a site plan using the recommendations that were given by Mr. a professional engineer, Norm Tybo?
Can he refer to the site plan that I provide you folks? Because that's what he was working off of when he wrote the letter.
I don't know where he's exactly saying where he wants to, all these different things to go on. The placement of riprap, the reinforcement where he wants the stabilization to occur. You know, that would all be part of an application. So that should be a site plan that he should be able to put together to come up with, if you have a base map already. I don't feel comfortable working off of a description like this because I'm not familiar with the land itself enough. But if I saw a drawing and I could tell what was going on, much easier.
Bill Rowinski, this description is not an engineering plan of any sort. One objection I have to it also is a recommendation for the 2 8-inch pipes. He talks about the area of the pipe coming from Bungie Hill Road being 113 square inches. The 2 8-inch pipes would only come up to, I think, 100 square inches or less. So that's already less capacity, and you have additional drainage there that should be accounted for. So I think there needs to be more provision for outflow capacity and perhaps a primary and an overflow pipe as opposed to two of the same thing at the same level. It seems like we would need to get the water as much as possible from making that 300-foot trip down the road to the other catch basin. So dumping it out further upstream would probably be a better idea. It might have to work with Bungie to do something about their drainage in the existing catch basin to catch the water further upstream so it doesn't have to make that long travel. But at the very least, there's no definite engineered plan here that accounts for the amount of water, and no plan that expressly says what the improvement will be.
Mark, you're next.
Well, I pretty much agree with my fellow members. Yeah.
Ashley, what was the receipt date of this application? It's not set in the agenda, so I just was wondering. I know Mr. Bentley granted the commission a 30-day extension, but what are we working off of as a receipt date?
Give me a second, and because I don't have the file in front of me, but I'll look at the minutes.
Okay. Okay. I don't think the minutes said what the receipt date was. The only reason why I'm asking these questions is regarding the timelines for rendering a decision.
Right.
It was a 60-day extension that was granted.
Yeah, it looks like it was first taken up as a new application on November 15th.
And we were granted 60 days at the last meeting.
Yeah.
So now the application would still remain incomplete, given the fact that there's still not a site plan to describe what the remedial work that would be done in order to make the site more palatable and acceptable, to make it stable and be assured that it's not going to cause a problem elsewhere. So we have another 30 days, correct? If we got 60 days extension last month, then we have another 30 days before we have to render a decision.
Correct.
And if there is no site plan that comes in by the time the next meeting is here, then my recommendation would be that we deny the application for incomplete information and work from there. And I can discuss discuss what those options might be with Ashley. But I think we have to have some kind of site plan and some kind of analysis. Norm has put his seal and signature on it, but he didn't provide any calculations. He was just using kind of a seat of the pants judgment. And I think that we need to have a little bit better understanding of what's going on from an engineering standpoint. Because there are other property owners that could be adversely affected, as well as the Bungie Lake Association's property. What is anybody else's position? I guess I'm asking.
I agree
Well,
with
Do you
that,
concur?
Marla.
One
I
question
agree
I
with that,
have,
Marla.
one question, Stuart Peasley speaking.
Go
One
ahead,
question
Stuart.
I have also is the role that the town plays, because it does stipulate that there is some modified wrap that has to be done with some cleanup around one of the outlets, I guess. And some grading, so that if the town weren't to do that, wasn't going to perform that duty, then that they would be liable for the charges or incurred as a result of that activity. So all of this being said, when it gets to that level, we do need more information. And yeah, that's just an example.
So.
That would be in the assessment and recommendations, item number 3.
Now, can I work with Ashley to develop a list of what you folks want, so I can go back to Kelly Engineering to express to them what they need to do and do it in a timely fashion, so that when I come and visit with you next month at this time, you'll have exactly what you need.
That would probably be useful. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I kind of thought the letter was very nice myself.
Very expressive, but it's
Yeah,
just a
so-
narrative.
The letter is not a plan, so.
Understood.
Just so you guys know, it's Ross Ellison with the Lake Bungie roads that I was present.
Do you have any comment?
I'm just waiting to see how it turns out. Mr. Bentley and I've had conversations after your meeting about it. You know, what he's generally planning to do. Just want to see it on paper, see if everybody agrees with it. You know,
Yeah,
some of
he
the
hasn't had
ideas
a
he
chance
has.
to see the letter either, which makes it kind of tough on him. But
We
when
can meet sometime, James, and you can tell me what you want to do one of the evenings if you think that's in everybody's best interest.
Yeah, that'll work out great.
All right. What do you want to pick a day? Maybe how's Wednesday night at 3:30? I get out of work. I can be there. That work?
Sure.
All right, perfect.
Yeah,
Wednesday,
we'll go
3:30.
over it, and hopefully by that time, I'll have some, would I have information from Ashley by then? So we can collaborate.
yeah,
on-
Yeah, we should. It sounds like
I'll
we're
get-
basically
Marla,
looking for a
that's-
site plan.
And possibly some hydraulic calculations.
Okay.
I'll try to give you in the next day or so, kind of like a hit list of things that I think should be there. And if Bill has some ideas, he could ship them off to you also,
Sure.
or Mark or Stuart. So that
No, I
say
just want to
by,
make sure I take the right information to the engineers so they can give us back the right data.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay.
Okay. Are we ready to move on to the next item? Okay. Roman numeral 6, pending applications, letter B. Application 12-21-14, Morris Lewis. Hemlock Drive. 34 lot 68, new home construction.
I'm here tonight to represent the application. Any new material at this point, or you just want
For
me
you.
to? All right. I can share my screen. I have a colored version of the plan that might help.
This is Mark Reynolds,
Who's
the
speaking?
applicant. Mark Reynolds. is the
Mark
applicant.
Reynolds for the applicant. My apologies. Can everybody see my screen?
Not yet.
Now we can.
Okay. I introduced the project last time, so I'll breeze through a few of these things, but this is the location of the site on Hemlock Drive. You can just see the edge of the lake right here off to the left. This is the parcel. There's wetlands towards the rear of the parcel and an intermittent water course. So here's the piece, the red line, you can see Hemlock Drive on the right side of the sheet. The flag in the field by soil scientist Ian Cole. His report is in the file, located on the plan, and the area of the wetlands that's on the property is shaded in yellow on this version. There was some irregularities with we've gone through and remedied that. The proposal for the residents, you'll notice the single family residence to the left and to the right, the existing houses on the street. The proposed house is in orange. The proposed driveway is in this light brown. The area that's like kind of this light green area, it encompasses what we denote as the proposed disturbed area on the property. The area that's in the darker green are there is which we prefer an edge of the property line with an energy dissipating rock apron at its outlet. Let's see, there's all the usual erosion and sediment control plan elements are included in the plan. There's a temporary stockpile area, there's silt fence surrounding the work area, construction entrance. Here. There is another sheet to the plan that has details and notes, which I don't have up on the screen, but are included. As I recall, two elements that needed to be looked at. One was the flagging of the wetlands, which I've already discussed. The other was how we handle stormwater coming and trying to make efforts to minimize impacts to downstream areas. What we some quantification of the runoff from the property. The disturbed area, I'll note, is about 0.3 of an acre. And what I've incorporated into the design is a yard drain catch basin at the end of the driveway to collect runoff from filtration bed that's shown in blue right here. And then for the roof drains to collection bed that's shown in blue, a little bit larger one right here. These are the two locations on the plans on the plan that are suitable with regard to separating distance to the well and to the septic. Which quantifies that design and that the net effect of this development would be a minimal impact areas down gradient. I think the extremely small area we're talking about, and that even under 100, about flows from the site of about, or from the area of concern of about 0.6 of a cubic foot per second. I'd be happy to answer any other questions the commission might have at this time. I can whatever the preference of the commission is.
Bill Rowinski here. Do you have the other map available that you could share?
Which map were you asking about?
Post-development drainage map?
This is the development, this is the proposed development.
Post, after.
This is the after construction development map that we're looking at.
The one that I have that I'm looking at has some letters A, B, and C. And it looks like it has a flow line on it also.
I could get that quicker than.
Mark Reynolds' band length might have just run out. Bandwidth.
I
started-
do have that map that I can share with you guys, if that's what you want to see, Bill.
Yes.
I do have a question for Mr. Reynolds, Mark.
Yeah, I
Go
can
ahead.
hear you.
I'm unfamiliar with, in those little blue boxes, it says in the note, install 12 quick 4 standard chambers, bottom chamber equals 86.0. And then it goes see detail, but there's no detail. The map that we have doesn't show a detail of what those chambers are supposed to. I'm not familiar with whatever a quick 4 standard chamber is.
Okay, that there is a detail on the second sheet of the plan, and quick 4 is a standard infiltrator unit that's used typically with a residential septic system. The footprint of a unit is 3 feet by 4 feet, and they can be joined in line, one after one to create a line. And the height of them is 12 inches. So you have a 3 by 4 by 12 roughly volume associated with each one of those units. And
Ashley, I don't think we got the
maybe
second sheet, the detail sheet sent to us.
I think it's on the back, it's on the back side.
On the backside, Marla. The
Backside.
hard copy that Ashley sent us.
Oh, on the hard copy. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. I'll take a look.
There was a question about the post.
Okay, got it.
Okay,
Did I answer it?
not really. There's no key to what A, B, and C really mean. And it looks like
Okay. A, B, and C are just areas of within the area of concern that are modeled within the hydrologic model. And if
Okay.
you were to have the hydrologic model in front of you, you would see that they're associated with elements in that model. So A
Okay.
is the roof, B is the area that drains to the catch basin, which includes some lawn in the driveway. C is everything else that doesn't get caught by one of the infiltration practices.
Okay, thank you.
So with this infiltration system that you are suggesting, would that be kind of like similar to the way the Mantis septic systems are, which
The
are chambers similar?
It's a similar idea, except for there are no fins of any sort. It's simply a parabolic shape and cross section with a void space, which actually provides a lot more storage area in this situation. And it's embedded in stone, so that provides a storage area as well. And in case you're thinking about this, I mean, obviously we're in an area where we're getting close to wetlands, but I've chosen locations for these infiltration units where we will be placing fill so that they'll actually be above existing grades. So they'll effectively work all the time. There's right down from the driveway, you'll notice there's a few proposed contours there. So we'll be putting those units under there, and then the same thing in the back of the house.
Got it.
I'm looking for what the actual distance is to the wetlands from the house. I can't see, does that show anywhere?
Stuart, judging by the scale and the plan view for the pre-development drainage map that I've pulled up on a different computer screen that I have here, looks to be about, the closest distance is just about 40 feet to the edge of the wetlands. That's for the house itself, maybe slightly less.
Yeah, I thought it would be less.
Mhm. Yeah, it could be slightly less, maybe 30 feet at the,
I
that
think-
would be no less than 30 feet.
Yeah,
Right.
a good reference point is if you see the arc for the well, the 25-foot well arc, it'll give you a good sense for it. It's just about 30 feet.
Okay.
What, Ashley, when did we receive this application? What's the receipt date?
The last meeting, which was January.
1/10/22.
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have to render decision this month. We still have another 30 days that we can take to chew over what we have, unless you want to feel like rendering decision. If you've had enough time to review it. I'm not sure I'm ready to grant an approval yet. This is a very tiny lot. It's not only 1/3 of an acre in size. And a good chunk of that is wetlands. So I really want to make sure that you feel comfortable about issuing a permit. I'm glad to see the infiltration systems that deals with what I was concerned with, some of the increases in runoff. I haven't heard anything from the Lake Association regarding any concerns that they may have downslope from this site, whether or not they have any drainage problems. But
Marla,
it
can I
sounds
just
like
jump in?
the,
Sorry,
who's speaking?
Kathleen Ellison, can I just jump in on behalf of the lake? So,
Kathleen Ellison, yep.
so again, compliance chair for Lake Bungay Tax, I just want to make sure Mr. Reynolds or the property owner knows that he's got to get permits from the lake too. He's got to fill out a building application, submit the documents. There's also a driveway bond that needs to be done for the driveway through the roads.
Yeah, we understand that.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Marla.
So I'd like to just, unless we have something specific, we're not required to render decision yet. And I want to give just a little bit more time, make sure we don't get any other comments in from any of the neighbors or anything. I suspect that this is a plan that's good to go. I want to do a little research on quick 4 standard chambers and how they function. The groundwater table is going to be real close to the top of the surface, I'm guessing. I'm not sure what the wetland soils were, where the modeling starts, but of course it's going to be close to the surface at times of the year. So those infiltration systems will probably have a hard time working every now and then. But still, this is much better than what it was before, and it is a lot of record. So as long as they've come up with ideas and there's no outstanding hydraulic reason why it can't go forward, then I would think that it should be approvable. I don't know what other commission members feel about it.
Bill Rowinski, I'll defer to Marla's judgment on that at this point.
So procedurally, would we table this motion to next month's meeting?
I would prefer to do that and have a chance to think it over, a little bit more and make sure we feel comfortable with it, that there's nothing else that we think should be done, but I think it's going in the right direction.
So I have one question. So the lot lines on the north and south are running right down to the lake. That lot goes right down to the lake.
No,
No, that's not the case.
Okay. So then there's a property line that separates. That's a boundary.
There's another
Okay.
2 properties between this property and the lake at least, and a
Okay.
road.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at there's a locus shot, Stuart, in the top right-hand corner of the survey map.
Right.
And you can see that it's on our Hemlock Drive is pretty far up from Lake Bungie.
Yeah, I just didn't, but I didn't see anything in between there, so I was just
Okay.
wondering. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'd like to hear if there are any outstanding questions that the commission has that I can provide information about at this time.
Do you have the hydraulic report? I know you have a hydraulic report that we got in a PDF, but it doesn't have any of the calculations with it. Did you get it? Did you have because this looks more like a summary, the letter dated February 1, 22. And it's a 3-page summary. Do you actually have the hydraulic calculations that you could supply for the file?
Yeah, they were.
Ashley, so you have a copy of the hydraulic calculations in the file? From this stormwater management report?
I believe they're on the website too.
Yeah, I believe it's in the folder.
Because what I got from the documents that were posted is just the summary report, the dated February 1. It doesn't contain the calculations or anything.
There's about 5
This
different
one?
documents that refer.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go
Yeah,
back and
that's
look
one
and
of-
see because I
that's one of-
copied them all off. Pre-development calculations. All right, let's see if that's it.
That's one of them.
Oh, there it is. There it is. The pre-development calculations. That's what I was looking for.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And you got that hydrograph in there. Let's see what.
That's just rainfall
Yeah,
data. that you're
24
looking
hour.
at.
I don't know. Yeah, that's all that is.
There's
Where's the rest of
they're
it?
pre and the post. Hold up. She almost had it there on the screen. That's the soil map.
This one you want to look
See
at?
right there. Number 4 and number 6 are the ones. I mean, yes, 4. No, I'm sorry. Number 4. There's one missing in there, Ashley. Number 5. I don't know where number 5 went to, but that's number 5 is the post-development calculations.
Okay, that's what I was looking for.
I don't know where they
Right.
are, but they were submitted.
They were submitted. Okay.
I mean, I certainly could
That's fine.
resubmit them.
If she has them, she can forward them to us via
Yeah.
email.
Part of the problem
Then we
is
can
that
ha-
the file size is quite large from the post-development.
Understood.
calculations.
Understood. It's just good to have them in the file in case at some later point in time, there's an argument made about what happened, would have the documentation there. And that's what
Agreed.
we prefer to have, even though we don't like to put them up on Zoom because it's a lot of stuff. Too large. The file size is too large. All right.
All right, here's number 5. I'm not sure what happened to it, but I will get it to you guys too and put it in the folder.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was up there. I don't know what happened.
Unless I labeled it wrong.
I don't know.
Looks right now.
Either way, I do have it, Marla, so I will forward
Okay.
it to you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mark, I move to table application 12-21-14 to next month's meeting.
Second by Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski to table application 12-21-14 to next month's meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed, abstained, so moved. Roman numeral number 7 on the agenda, new applications. Letter A, application 01-22-04, George and Carolyn Luby, 534 Senexit Road, clean existing farm pond. Okay,
Mark, I have a question for Ashley.
go ahead.
This is the first time I've ever seen this form.
Yeah,
Every time somebody's come, so where did this come from?
it was sent in, so I actually kind of had the same question for you guys. If it was something that you guys had used previously that I wasn't aware of.
Because usually we get like an application and then we just say it's a use permitted as of right and assign it that. But anyways, neither here nor there. We'll deal with that later. Because I think, Mark, we should probably take a look at all of our forms
Yeah,
and review them for
Definitely.
adequacy.
yes,
So that we can, because we're required to supply this kind of form to the applicant.
And
And I believe that the Lubies are here, though.
Yes.
if I
Yeah.
may just interject on that point, one thing is that we already discussed tonight was the block and lot number inclusion. So
correct.
we should have consistency with all these forms, just so we avoid any confusion. I think that's a key point.
So I have some questions for George or Carolyn Luby, or whoever is representing them.
Yeah, it's actually George and Todd. His son Todd is here too to help answer questions.
Okay, great. I'm very familiar with your pond. I live up on Bull Hill Road and I have seen how many times Bull Hill Road has washed into Senexit and traveled down to your pond.
Yeah, well, you can have it all
And I've
back.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things, I've been trying to work with the Public Works director to try to get some drainage changes, in fact, for Bull Hill Road, so that you wouldn't keep getting the sediment and runoff.
Yeah.
But haven't been successful yet in getting those modifications done. I did notify them before the winter set in this year, just before the ground froze, to reestablish the drainage ditches on Bull Hill Road. But in doing so, they didn't open up the south side of Bull Hill Road. So with the last storm, we had a significant amount of sediment ended up being blocked by snow and washed into the street and down into the pond.
Right.
So
She's smart.
So I've watched the pond, I've lived here now for 12 years, and I've watched the pond fill up and become filled with cattails. So do you know how you want to do the pond cleaning? Do you have a contractor in mind? Or do
Yes,
you have? Okay,
we've had Jimmy Piappi come and look at the project, and he's been working on a pond just up the street on Payne District Road. And so he's given it a quick go over and made his assessment and kind of came up with a kind of a quick plan on how he progressed with it. And so it would be, go in the, low flow time of the year, August or what have you, and try to divert the existing flow of the pond around to one side and then divert it out through the old sluice way, and then get the level of the pond down to where he could access all the sediment and scoop it out and stack it and let it dry out. And then we'd have to move it somewhere on site down the road.
so can he come up with some kind of like a sketch of how he wants to do this? I mean, this is not a complicated pond. I mean, it is an embankment pond with a spillway, an
Right.
emergency spillway too. Looks like it has was it used for anything in the past? Was it for some kind of water power?
Way back when there was a sawmill on the property there. They actually had a window and sash mill there. And of course, that's been, it's long gone, but the sluice way is still somewhat in existence. And of course, the waterfall and, there over time, some of the embankment near the waterfall has eroded away. That has to be addressed. And several big trees would have to probably be taken down in order to get his machine access to the pond.
So can you said it was Jimmy?
Yes.
Jimmy come up with a drawing showing the sequence of what he wants to do? Because what's been provided on this form is not adequate
Right.
for them,
Yeah.
for us but it's obviously something that is part of the maintenance and enjoyment of that residential home, or is the conservation of soil and water. I can see that, but one of the things, have you approached the town to see if the town will take the sediment that's removed from the pond to dispose of it, since much of it came from Bull Hill?
There's been discussions in the past. I mean, quite a couple of occasions. There was discussions with the road foreman, who at that time denied the fact that sediment was actually coming from Bull Hill Road, when anyone could tell it was. But there's been no action with the town as far as taking any responsibility for the thing silting in. And I don't think we want to get into any big contest with the town. Be great to have some help on it, but my parents would just like to get it cleaned up and make it look like it used to look.
So the commission is not required to render any kind of decision on a request for a declaratory ruling in any timeline.
Right.
So right now, my recommendation to the commission is to place this on hold, to table it until we can get some drawings and some further details on the sequence of construction from the contractor, and get an idea as to how this work is going to proceed. I understand how you're explaining it to me, but seeing it on a piece of paper and seeing this is going to go first and then this is going to go second. And I do believe that stream almost dries up in the summer, because you have Johnson's Pond, which is 20 acres just upstream. That's why I don't think the majority of the sediment came from the water course itself. I think it came from
Right, is
Bull
there
Hill Road.
Johnson's Pond is also a source of wash coming into our pond.
Yeah, and they have flushed over the years. They've flushed, let the dam down up above to flush the pond. And I think the last time they did it, which is, I don't know how many years ago, 3, 4,
Yeah,
they let the dam lower the gate up on the pond. And when they did it that time, it did push a lot of stuff down into this lower pond. Like I
Okay.
said, the.
All right, so
over the
that
years-
dam was being repaired. That's a Class B dam.
Yeah.
And that was owned at the time by Mr. Cohen.
Yeah.
And he was being required under the DEEP to make repairs to it. And my guess is that when he opened up the low-level outlet structure to do the repairs on the dam, that's when they blew out the bottom sediments that were in front of the low-level outlet structure, and that's what came down to your pond.
Yeah.
And that would have been about 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah,
source of water for the livestock.
right. And of course, there's livestock on the property and, downstream water, water there, but the stream runs year round. But like I say, in dry times, it gets down to very, very small flow. It'd be easy to divert and take care of that.
So when you submit your plan, your construction plan, et cetera, that would also include, where you're gonna take the dredge spoils, the sediment, And if you decide to, have the town take it, or that, whatever you decide, if you want to talk to the town about it. But or even if you do it, privately, wherever your contractor is gonna be taking that sediment, that should be in your plan. So
Right.
that we can look at it.
Yeah, I think that there's plenty of room up above where the gravel had been removed years ago that we could get rid of that stuff once it was dry enough to handle. Yeah.
So your contractor is going to have a water handling plan,
Yep.
as well as a drawing showing, how he's going to do it. And then where you're going to stockpile the material and what kind of erosion and sediment controls he's going to use
Right.
to prevent the siltation from going into the stream, which ultimately goes to Roslyn Lake.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure we can have him provide all that, and we'll get back in touch with him, and then once we get that from him, we'll submit that to the town.
When is the March meeting? What's the date for the March meeting?
March meeting date, first Monday in March. What date is that?
March 7th.
March 7th.
And you need it by when for that meeting? When does it need to be submitted by? How many days prior? A week, 2 weeks, 10 days?
Well, we've had people submit something at the 11th hour on Monday morning to Ashley.
That's
as long as you get it into her by the morning, then she can present it that night.
Mark, I can comment. It typically has to be in by the Thursday afternoon before that meeting.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there an email address or someplace that we could send the information to, or?
You have to send it to, check with the town clerk.
Okay. I just didn't know if we were doing things differently, because it's remote and so forth, if we were able to go into the town hall and drop it off, or if we were to send it to someone specifically. But we'll check with the town clerk on that.
Okay, so
Question,
yeah.
where did you get the form?
Where'd you get the form?
Oh, that was
It was
from
given-
Ron Petro. He gave my
Ron,
parents.
you're here, Ron. Where did you get this
Right
form?
off of Woodstock's website somewhere, I believe.
Ashley, you need to track that down. We need to look at changing that, because this is insufficient information for declaratory ruling.
Okay.
All right.
Is a jurisdictional ruling the same as declaratory ruling, Marla?
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
that's what I thought, yeah.
I can show you, if you go on Thompson's website and you look at the request for a jurisdictional ruling, it's a 3-page form. That'll give you an example of the kinds of information that we get that they get in Thompson for these kinds of rulings.
Where was that again, Marla?
ThompsonCT.org, Inland Wetlands Commission,
Okay,
documents and forms.
You know, the next time we update our town of Woodstock regulations manual, maybe in the definitions section, we have a definition for either declaratory or jurisdictional ruling. Because right now I don't see anything there.
The regulations say in section 4 that the form is provided by the town. On
Oh,
a
okay.
form, it would be section 4.2, 4.2,
Okay,
I think. Yeah. Or 4.3, excuse me. So, Mr. Luby, if your contractor has any questions, he can get in contact with Ashley.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds great. We'll get this list to him and see what he can generate. We'll get that on up to the town hall.
all right, thank you. We'll have that on the agenda for next month.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Roman numeral number 6. And, oh. I'm sorry, Roman numeral number 7, new applications. Letter B, 01-22-05, timber harvest notification. Michelle Wood, Hull Forest Products. Brockway Road property. Ashley received that just this past week, last week.
What is this?
01-22-05, timber harvest notification.
Got it.
And I asked Darcy Winther about this, and she went through with us how we can check on the DEP webpage and forestry, and to see, you know, what foresters, you know, are certified or you know, licensed to file these forms and so forth. The applicant asked if they could start last week, and I told Ashley that if the property lines look good to her and everything looked good, you know, that, you know, I suppose we could let them, they could get started, but I told her to tell them that that they still needed to bring this before the commission to make a decision on if, you know, a jurisdictional ruling on this. And so I mentioned this particular one to Darcy, and she said, yeah, Whole Forest Products should know better. They should know better that they're supposed to run this through the agency first before they start the project, but.
Yeah, so I'm here to speak on this.
Yeah, and Michelle, I also noticed that on your form, you said that you wanted to start March 1st, so.
That was my plan, but then the crew
Okay.
I wanted it to be a cut to length crew that went in there. It's perfect for that type of harvest. The landowner is very aesthetically minded, so I preferred it to be a forwarder crew. And a crew became available, and it's perfect weather right now before we get the thaw. I just wanted to get started on it while we had this
Right.
window. So I appreciate the leniency, and I'll give you a bit of details on it. So the landowner he's just recently purchased the property, I believe within the last year, and he's very interested in long-term management, kind of wants to bring the forest to a healthy position. He wants to leave it to his kids. So we're doing an improvement thinning where we're removing roughly 30% of the total volume. And that 30% that's coming out is the poorest quality timber. There's some really nice white oak and hard maple coming in the understory, which I'm trying to release. I would also like to encourage some regeneration because there's very, very little natural regeneration in there right now. There's one wetland crossing, one stream crossing. Those will both be bridged and corduroyed during the harvest. We have started where I think he moved his equipment there on Tuesday and has had a few full days in, but it'll probably take him another 2 weeks until he finishes up completely. He moves pretty quick. It does really nice work. It looks good.
So Marla Butt speaking. So I see in your application that you're going to have a temporary bridge for a stream crossing,
Yep.
and would that have a corduroy road approach to it? Because it looks like it's all through wetlands.
Yep. The wetland crossing is a wider crossing. I have a whole truckload of mats that should have gotten there today. So we're going to mat the wetland crossing and also the stream crossing and corduroy the approaches to both of those.
Just for some help in future, if you provide an illustration of what the crossing would look like as an example, that's helpful, so that, and not just for this commission, but for other wetlands commissions, because a lot of people don't know what harvesting looks like and what a temporary bridge would look like, or what a corduroy road would, or using mats. And that can make it a lot easier for people to feel comfortable rendering an approval for a timber harvest that crosses wetlands and water courses.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, this is not enough for me to understand the total project. I mean, the site plan is, I don't know, it doesn't work for me.
So is there going to be any cutting in the wetlands itself?
No, we're keeping
So there's no cutting in the wetlands. So you're basically only doing work cutting in the upland review area and then crossing the water course with the trail, correct? Yeah. That's really the only activity that's in the wetlands itself, is crossing it. Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
So Stuart, in light of that, since they're not really cutting any trees actually in wetlands, they're only doing one crossing.
Right.
And it really doesn't have much regulated activity in it, particularly if it's a temporary bridge and a corduroy road or a matted road. I don't know, have you ever seen a matted road?
Personally, sure.
Stuart?
Yes.
So if they're,
it's just,
if they're using that, then I don't see this as being a problem. Since they're not cutting in the wetlands.
Yeah, everything that, so maybe to shed a little bit more light on it to make you feel more comfortable. All of the trees that we intend on removing have been marked with blue paint at eye level, and also like where the tree meets the ground, so at the stump. And those have been tallied, and that's using kind of silvicultural guidelines. So while I'm out there, I'm taking out trees that are poorly formed and those that appear to have some gypsy moth damage from 3 or 4 years ago, for example, and those that are just kind of taking up growing space around other trees that are more desirable. So those are the only trees that are selected for removal. We have one landing area, which is small. So this is a cut to length operation, which means that it's a harvester and a forwarder. So it's 2 guys who are running the equipment and just cutting the trees, bringing it to the landing, and a log truck brings it back to our sawmill in Pomfret. If there's any other questions you have, or if I'm maybe not explaining anything well, feel free, please, to ask me.
So,
Marla,
Mark-
would it, yeah, Marla, I was wondering, yeah, and this is to you, Michelle, as well. So what if you were to be able to like provide us like a couple of PDF files showing what a corduroy bridge looks like or whatever, and then we could put it in the file along with this application or this request. Then we'd have it in our files so that people in the future could see. You know, it wouldn't be required for us to to approve a jurisdictional ruling on this, but just as a kind of to kind of build on what would help us have an idea of future submittals, that people could add an attachment of a picture of a bridge that they would be putting in, or a corduroy road. What do you think of that, Marla? Do you think that would be nice to have and put in the file here?
Well, I think it's very useful for timber harvest requests to have the example of what the structure would look like when you're actually crossing a water course. Because there are portable bridges, and then there are bridges that are made in place, and depending on the situation that you have, you may be bringing in a portable bridge, or you may be building a bridge out of timbers or logs, and I have seen that where it's been built on the spot with planking. So it just makes it easier to say, if somebody complains at a later time, well, this is what they said that they were going to build, and if they didn't build that and it causes a problem, then you deal with it then. But for the most part, these are pretty standard.
So in the standard section where it says describe in further detail as necessary, the applicant could say, also see attached diagrams of type of corduroy roads we'll be putting in, or something like that, and that's where you would cite your attachments. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't mind doing that. I forget I'm speaking to loggers and foresters and landowners who are familiar with this all day. So I forget kind of my audience at times. So yeah, that's definitely something that I've made a note of here that I will include in the future.
In any case, it's always a good idea to have as good a presentation as possible so that it will make things smoother for you.
And us.
Yeah.
I move to approve the request for timber harvest 01-22-05 as a use permitted as of right under the agricultural definition.
Second by Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski, to approve the request for harvest permit as a use permitted as of right, under the appropriate agricultural use. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Abstain? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. It approves. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, back to the agenda. Roman numeral number 7, new applications, letter C, application 01-22-06, Daniel Flynn, 56 Westview Drive, new home construction.
Bill Rowinski, the new home construction, I believe, is on Joy Road. The address might be the person proposing to build. I believe the property is owned by Kyle Spalding.
Yes, you are correct.
When did this come in?
Thursday.
And it's only work in the upland review area. Do you have a copy of the Northeast District Department of Health's approval for the septic design?
This is Dave Held with Provost and Rivero on behalf of Mr. Flynn. So the plans have been submitted to the health department. They have not been approved yet, that I'm aware of.
So Marla Butt speaking, this appears to be a wetlands agent approval. Not an individual permit. For work in the upland review area. So I would move that this application, let's see, what's in the application number? Come on.
01-2206.
Yes. Application number 02-22-06 of Daniel Flynn be processed as a wetlands agent approval only after Ashley receives a copy of the Northeast District Department of Health's approval of the septic system design.
Second by Bill Rowinsky.
Motion's been made by Marla Butt, seconded by Bill Rowinsky to approve this application as a wetlands agent sign off.
No, that's not what I said.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, what you said.
That application 02-22-06 of Daniel Flynn be processed as a wetlands agent approval by Ashley after she receives a copy of the design approval correspondence for the septic system from the Northeast District Department of Health.
So if I could interject a little bit here, just to make sure that I'm not going down the wrong road here. So this is an existing lot of record, but it's not a buildable lot. It was created as an agricultural subdivision, I believe, in 1998 by the Spalding family. I'm assuming to settle an estate or something like that. So I guess what we need is actually twofold. We would need approval for the regulated activities associated with the construction, but we also need some sort of formal action regarding, I think, approval as a one-lot subdivision, just because statutorily the Planning and Zoning Commission has to act on this as a one-lot subdivision application, and because there's wetlands on the property, the Wetlands Commission has to take some sort of action with regard to the subdivision aspect of it too, I think. So I think that probably could be delegated as an agent approval also, but just as long as your motion reflects the subdivision aspect of it also, I think we're good.
So Marla Butt speaking, the application doesn't say any, it says one lot subdivision. I don't know how you do a one lot subdivision. So basically what you're saying is that this became a separate parcel, but it was not a buildable lot at the time that it was created. And therefore it has to go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval as a building lot, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So it's like a re-subdivision?
Not a re-subdivision. It's technically a one-lot subdivision. That's the legal mechanism.
And have you submitted?
Make it approvable.
Have you submitted your application to the Planning and Zoning Commission?
That would be submitted this week.
Okay, so it has not yet been submitted, so they haven't received it. So they run off the same timelines we do. So how far out is the health department with its septic approvals, are you finding?
I'm going to guess maybe another week or two. We'd probably have the approval. Probably 2 weeks.
When?
Probably 2 weeks.
All right, then I don't see what the problem is, because once Ashley issues a wetlands agent approval, a copy goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and that's the Wetlands Commission's position on the case.
Right.
Yep.
That it finds it acceptable.
Yep.
The zoning commission usually doesn't act on finally until they know that the wetlands have approved the wetlands issues.
Correct, they can't. I just want to make sure that whatever approval is granted reflects that is being approved both as a subdivision lot and for the regulated activities for the construction.
Bill
Well,
Rowinsky.
Ashley, you're the zoning enforcement officer, correct?
She is.
So once you issue it, you can advise the Planning and Zoning Commission that the Wetlands Commission has no objection to this being a subdivision lot, because it wouldn't grant an approval or authorize an approval to be granted without it finding it acceptable.
Correct.
So, I don't have any problem with this being processed, or that if, let me ask you, as a commission, would you prefer that Ashley notify the Planning and Zoning Commission that the Inland Wetlands Commission has no objection to the development of this property as a building lot, providing it gets approval of the septic system? You could do that as a motion, and she can notify the commission of that by motion, a motion. What do you think of that?
Bill Rowinsky, that would be okay as an additional motion.
As to withdraw the original motion and put it in this format?
No, I keep the original
Oh,
one. I still
okay,
want it
okay.
processing it as a wetlands agent approval, but we'll do a second motion.
Okay, got it. Okay. Okay,
I
so
move
let's,
that,
yep. We still need to vote on the
move that-
first, yeah, okay.
oh, yes, I'm sorry. I
Yep.
thought we did. Oh, I guess we didn't. Sorry.
No, the discussion began. Okay, now the discussion is over on the first motion for the, yeah, as Marla said. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Abstain? Opposed? Okay, do we lose Stuart?
No,
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you.
I said aye.
Oh, okay.
Aye.
All right, so that part's approved. Okay, now go ahead with your second motion, Marla.
Okay, I move to have Ashley notify the Planning and Zoning Commission that the Inland Wetlands Commission has no objection to the development as proposed in application 01-22-05. Map, that would be assessor's map 7278, block 32, lot 88-2. Providing the septic design is approved by the Northeast District Department of Health.
Bill Rowinsky, I'll second that.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinsky. I'm going to trust that the recording and our secretary gets all that wording in. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Okay. Roman numeral number 8, administrative business. Do we have any
That-
administrative? Go ahead.
Nothing too new. The only thing I will tell you is I received an email from Sienna Green with the application that you approved to do the culvert. I'm sorry. Has been put on hold. They didn't have like the materials that were needed, so they had to find a new contractor, and they're working on getting things prepared. So they don't have any new information yet, but they will once they find a new contractor and everything.
Is that the application that was determined to be an emergency
Yes.
Yes.
where the culvert was collapsing?
Yep.
Okay, by our bylaws, we have two areas of business to review tonight that probably comes under this. And one is that's the election of officers. And the second would be bylaw review.
I'm thinking I would like to do the election of officers first. And then before we get into bylaw review, maybe give Ron Petro an opportunity under citizens' comments, since I see he's lingering on the phone. I don't want to keep him too late.
You'll have cows to feed, Mark.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. So why don't we move forward with election of officers? Bill or Marla, you want to make a motion?
I move that the chair cast one slate for the current set. No, I don't know how to say this.
One vote for the current slate.
Yeah, why don't you make the motion, Bill?
Guys want
Move
me
that the secretary cast, yeah.
Since you guys are already voted, I should be the ones that nominate all three of you to.
Yeah, right.
I hereby make the motion that we reinstate the present members as elected officers to their current positions for the year going forward.
Second by
I
Bill
second that
Malinsky.
motion.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Motion's been made by Stuart Peasley, seconded by Mila Butts. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
So moved. We've all been voted back in. Okay. Ron, I want to give you an opportunity to speak up here. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Mark. Just wanted to give an update, make a comment, and maybe a question. As far as good news goes, even after last week's snow melt and rainstorm, which wasn't our annual 50-year storm, but we still had quite a flow coming down from the street and from the hillsides and everything. But the work we did on the cleaning out the stream bed down to the pond held up. The west side of the driveway where we put 3 little dams with spillways actually did a nice job. It prevented the water from overflowing the bank and running down the driveway and washing out the driveway. So that worked out really well. The flow was a very strong flow too, so I was happy to see that. To the east side of the driveway down to the pond, the stream bed held up very nice. The pond is actually very full. I've had the fire marshal down there a couple times. He's complimented it and is very glad that he's got a big body of water to now go to if he needs to. So the pond being full, that's all the good news. Some of the bad news is the runoff that comes down Payne Road, which we've discussed in the past. That's now filled up that trench that John Navarro had just dug out, filling up the culvert that leads down to my bar, through my barway. I've talked to John today about it, so he's going to get somebody out there this week. I think something different needs to be done though, because what I have noticed is where we put those 3 little dams to the west side of the driveway, that top one is right now starting to fill up with debris and stone and silt or muck that wasn't there when we put it in. So I can only assume that all the stuff washing down the road, down Payne Road, is making its way into the brook at the road and then being pushed down. So it's only going to be a matter of time before those little pools will be filled up, and I'll have to do something, some kind of work to get the silt and debris out of them. So I'm a little bit worried about that. One thing I do ask is that, you know, with the project with the pond, this whole project taking me anywhere, the approval process, I don't know, 13, 14 months, I am 4 times my budget as far as the pond, dredging the pond. And that's only because we went from a drought year in 2020 where I could have got it dredged in no time to having to have 2 excavators on property
Yeah.
because of the rain that we had this, 2021. 2 excavators, rented mats for the excavators to go out on. Literally, actually, it's more than 4 times what my original contract was for because of the additional work. I would appreciate just a little bit of help and maybe an idea from the town about what they can do from the roadway where everything washes into my brook down to where those pools are, because I don't want to have to redo the pools and the little dams again, because they've worked so well, but they're going to fill up pretty quick if the town doesn't do something about what's being pushed down there. So, on top of that, I gave up on the pipe idea, piping the brook,
Yeah.
and I sold those pipes to the town. $16,000 worth of pipes I gave to the town for $7,000. I can't even get the finance director to give me a donation slip for my taxes to try and write off some of it at least. So I would appreciate just a little bit of help up from the road down to my pool. Or is my permit for cleaning out the stream beds, does it apply all the way up to the street? Or do I have to go through the application process all over again for that portion?
Mark, do you want an answer or do you want us to just respond?
Yeah, just respond. I don't know what, yeah. I'd have to look at everything
So-
again. Yeah.
So there's a couple of ways that you can approach it now that you've got your structures in place, regardless of what the town does or doesn't do. And you find it necessary to clean out the accumulated sediment. The best way that you should do it is to come in, give yourself plenty of time, because you'll know that when it's starting to fill up, and request a non-regulated use for conservation of soil and water. And you can have a sketch to say, this is where I want to remove the sediment from, because you'll already have all your dikes or all be there. And just bring it in. I think that's a no-brainer. You're suffering from the same thing that Dr. Luby is suffering from.
Yes.
Runoff from a dirt road that's unstable. And inadequate provisions have been given to provide for that runoff. So on Payne Road, what I'm beginning to see, the size of the gully that comes down off that hill, that probably should really be a riprap channel, some sort of stabilization in there, because it's going to keep washing and keep eroding no matter what. And the only way to stop the majority of the sediment is not just bringing fill in and regrade the road, and then you have a little ditch that erodes again back to what it was before. And that's going to be a costly expense to the town. And I don't know how the monies that are coming from the federal government will affect the ability for the town to use some of those monies for some of those problems. I don't know how the American CARES Act works at this point in time. I guess all of the projects, and I don't know whether or not it includes infrastructure. If the federal government passes the infrastructure portion for roads and bridges, then obviously that would be something that could be available to address that problem.
Right.
I mean,
One,
I think the best thing, I'm wondering whether or not the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District or the Natural Resource Conservation Service can give the town some assistance in coming up with a viable solution for the ditch line that's on the west side of and south side of Payne District Road.
Bill Rowinski, I would be more in favor of that because it's nice to give Ron permission to go dredge it out once a year, but it's an expense and it's an additional maintenance, and that it's something that he shouldn't really have to do. So if we can get engineering help with it and come up with a better solution, that would be the preferable way to do it.
Thank you, Bill, because as you know, as Marla said, it's just going to keep happening. And if I've got to keep going in and cleaning, and I don't have the equipment to clean it, I've got to keep hiring somebody to clean out those little pools. That's not fair to me because it originally isn't my problem.
Well, I had a property with a gravel driveway on a hill, and I used to spend many, many hours bringing the dirt back up the hill every time we had a big rainstorm.
I'm just glad that my driveway didn't wash out this time.
Yeah.
And it actually held up because we repaired it and it actually didn't get that flow because of those little dams. So I'm happy about that.
So it'd be good for everybody if we could get a better solution overall before the water even gets onto your property.
Yeah.
So what happened to the request we submitted to the Board of Selectmen in that letter seeking more analysis, engineering?
Engineering. was
Janet
done by
Blanchett
Janet
did.
Blanchett.
We submitted a request to get more engineering to address that problem because it went beyond the Payne Road situation. So the request focused on how we could address not just what that happened on Payne Road, but what's causing the problem overall.
Mark, didn't you send a follow-up letter to the first selectman?
I think I was supposed to. I don't know if I'm gonna have to check my files, check our records and see if we did. I can't remember.
Ashley, do you recall if a letter went? A follow-up letter?
I'm pretty sure it did. The
So,
one that
so
we
am
had
I.
discussed during
I
the
thought,
meeting. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think I don't know if it went further than that. I'm almost positive the first selectman received it though.
It seemed to me, if I remember correctly, that there was a outcome that I don't know the right wording, but perhaps some kind of a settlement instead of the analysis. And now I think that maybe was I don't want to say short-sighted, but maybe not long-sighted enough. We need that analysis, I think, in order to avoid this annual maintenance. We've got to come up with a different system than just saying, yeah, well, it's like Marla says, we could rip wrap that the trench and help control this runoff. Maybe that's it, but there's probably other contributing factors that could be considered so that this isn't not just Ron's problem, but everybody else along that road is going to continue to have it. Yeah, I just think that it is enough. There's enough accountability that the town has to step up and address this properly, because they can't just expect the owners to maintain this.
Ron, do you know if that portion of Payne Road is a scenic road? Was that ever
Payne Road's
accepted as
not
a scenic road?
No,
It is not.
it is not.
So it could be paved. And it could have storm drainage system installed into it if it was paved. That's pretty expensive for the town to do, but that is an option, which they don't have on Bull Hill because Bull Hill's a scenic road and you can't pave it unless everybody agrees to it. So
I realize that would be pretty expensive. I just think there's a different, there's got to be a different solution. As a matter of fact, the contractor that I have, that the Lubies are looking to have, Piapi, we were talking about that trench today, and he said he could do a better job at it. They're doing it all wrong. I'm not a construction guy, so I don't understand it, but he said there's a better way to do it. So
there we go, engineering analysis, and just get the proper roadmap and get the guidelines for doing it and get it done. But I think that's where it goes back. We've got to pick it back up and say, hey, it didn't work. We've asked for the analysis. The analysis really needs to be done. You've got that, guys.
one option might be is if we can try to build the selectmen a golden bridge, is to find out whether or not whether or not the Natural Resource Conservation Service can provide assistance to the town in doing design work. And I don't have any contacts anymore. You know who might is Joe Palulik. I think he just got elected to the Planning and Zoning Commission as an alternate. Ashley, if you ask him who might, since he was the state engineer for NRCS before he retired, he might have good contacts with the engineering staff at the NRCS to see if they have the capabilities to provide any assistance to the town in designing a permanent fix, or more or less more permanent fix than what they've been doing already. He might best be able to advise what resources might be available to the town at a low cost.
Marla, I had NRCS out at the house, Gene Pillow, and I forgot.
Yep. No, that's Eastern Connecticut Conservation District.
Oh,
Gene
okay.
Pillow works for the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District.
But I also had NRCS out here as well.
Okay.
His name is Bill. But anyway, they did come out and they said they've talked with the towns before about the way they grade the road, and that Payne Road is graded incorrectly, which leads to these problems. One of the reasons that we have these problems. So, I feel bad for John Navarro because I know he keeps trying and trying and trying, but nature's winning right now.
Well, one thing that's causing a problem is that it's causing an alteration to wetlands and water courses every time that road washes out. And it is of a concern from the Inland Wetlands Commission is responsible for regulating activities that alter wetlands and water courses. So we do have some kind of interest in that road continuing to cause pollution problems to waters of the state that ultimately goes to Roseland Lake, which has a lot of nutrient problems, has a lot of problems. And currently your pond is going to act as a sedimentation basin for Payne Road. And that's really not quite right. So I think if we give another touch base, this is the first I've heard that NRCS has already looked at that and come up with a conclusion. But if we're looking at an alternative other than just grading, but looking at stabilization of using some methodology, that's going to take engineering services. And I don't know if the NRCS still has those because they've been losing staff like every other federal agency. And that's why I suggested contacting Joe Palulik. He might be able to put the town in touch with the correct person at NRCS, that maybe can be some way that we can find some design for stabilizing that to reduce the amount of sediment loading that's going to occur. Because you're still going to get sediment no matter what, it's dirt road, but it's excessive.
Right. If you saw how much muck I pulled out of the pond, you'd realize a lot of sediment's gone in there over the last 50 years or so. Any help I could get would be appreciated, because if I don't get help, I'm probably going to have to go back to work.
Or other work.
Other work. Paying work.
Paying work, yeah, right. It's like my wife is always saying, get rid of that rooster. He's not producing any eggs.
Right.
Quit feeding him. Let's butcher him.
But he's a good alarm clock, huh? I have a request to make. If Ron, you're done.
Yes, I am.
We'll see what Ashley comes up with, talking to Joe Palulik to see if you could report back next month and let us know if there's any progress we can make in that direction. But I would like the agendas to contain a little bit more information. I would like to have the receipt date, what we consider to be the actual receipt date of an application, with the information provided. on an application so that we know how much time we have left to deal with an application.
One sec, let me just, I want to interrupt. Sorry, Marla. I apologize. Before Ron takes off. Ron, would you be willing and interested to join the commission?
Uh,
You're kind of an expert now. I'd like,
I wouldn't say that, but I do play in water a lot. I'll think about it.
Think about it.
I'll
Yeah.
seriously think about it. I've served on committees in Woodstock before.
it's always good to see you.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, but I really do have to get out and feed the cows now. They've been waiting for an hour.
Right.
Have a good night. You know where to find me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Good night.
you.
Good night.
Okay, Marla, bring us back. You'd like to see a receipt date on applications in
Yeah, in the
the
agenda.
agenda, right?
So when it gives an application number, that tells me what month it was received and what number it was in that month or that year. But then I think if we had, we have the street address. And for properties that don't have a street address, is it the same way that is in Thompson? If a property has no house on it and a lot has no house, it's considered zero address?
We just usually go by the map block and lot number until it's assigned a number if they're gonna build a house.
Okay. So then putting in the map block lot number like you did under the timber harvest notification form for 01-22-05, if you
Yep.
put that in, then if we wanted to do some research, we could go on NECOG and find the information.
Okay,
It's easier than we know we've got the right site.
sure.
So if those two items were added in, that would be helpful to do research. And I think we should probably at some point, another comment I have to make, we need to look at our application forms at some point, maybe I don't know whether or not that would be a special meeting or just because we wouldn't be making any decisions. But at some point, we really need to look at it because I'm not really happy with this request for determination that says it comes from Woodstock. I've never seen this before.
I think that a lot of the process depends on this coordination of information, that it's so vital to making the process the quality that it's good for everybody.
And I'd also like the request for determinations that the property owner grants the commission or its agent the right to enter onto the property during the activity while it's occurring. Because we don't have the right to enter onto private property. And what if they tell us they're going to do one thing in their back lot, and then we get a complaint that there's all this sediment coming down and we don't have any rights to enter onto their property. We can knock on their door and say, can I have, take a look, I've got a problem. But technically you have no right to enter. So I'm just wondering whether or not when people apply for determinations, whether or not they should be granting the commission the right to access that property.
Well, this is Bill again. I'm gonna repeat something that I might have previously stated. Based on discussions with Janet Brooks as one of the khaki wicks, is that we can ask for that, but I don't know that we can legally require it.
Yeah, it's a legal issue.
But if you ask for it and they give it to you, then you've already got it.
Yeah.
It's not something that you're going to reject an application because they didn't sign that statement.
Yeah.
But if they sign it, I haven't had one person in Thompson say, I'm not going to sign this. The property owner. The property owners, because they want something. And typically when they want something, they will sign for that, to get it.
Yeah.
So. And they don't want to upset the commission.
Yep. Yeah, I'm for it, but it's just, like I say, I don't know that we can force it. It could be an issue if we tried to force it.
So
I'm
Ashley,
looking-
are the
I'm look-
application forms?
I'm
Sorry,
I'm looking at page 3 of our standard application for permit for a wetlands activity. And just above the signature line, there's a little statement that says the undersigned applicant hereby consents to necessary and proper inspections of the above mentioned property by agents of the Inland Wetlands Agency at reasonable times, both before and after the permit in question has been granted by the agent and or the agency. Is that what you're thinking? Is that okay?
that's exact. Well, that's the language that's used, but what I think Bill's saying is they don't have to sign that statement. They don't have to sign away their rights.
It could
But
be.
we ask for it
probably-
anyways.
Yeah, it could be and probably should be a separate statement.
Mm-hmm.
With a separate signature line?
Yes.
Yeah,
Because that, you know,
yeah,
that,
because
yeah,
Yep.
that sentence, the undersigned applicant, blah, blah, blah. Then there's another one that says, the undersigned swears that the information signed is complete, application is accurate to the best of their knowledge. Then you've got the signature line. So what you're recommending is have a signature line for the first one about consent to enter the site, and then a separate signature line for that the undersigned swears that the above information is best to their knowledge, blah, blah, blah.
I'd reverse this,
Reverse.
what you just said. Put the applicant first, the owner second. So the applicant doesn't have to be the owner.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, why don't we put on the agenda for either for next month or the month after, review of forms and, revised forms or something like that. Yeah,
That would be
Well-
under administrative business?
under administrative business. Yeah.
The other issue that's tacked on to that is that, you could conceivably make it a conditional approval. I mean, if they don't sign it, then what Marla's saying is that you don't sign this, then we don't know what's going on, then we can't approve it. So to be able to approve it, there has to be access to visually see if things were adhered to in the application.
But my understanding is that's more of a constitutional issue. And I believe the Fourth Amendment was quoted about unlawful search and seizure. So that you're requiring access to somebody's property in order for them to get their permit to do that. And I don't know that that's
But the
reasonable.
permit is one thing, the approval is the sign off is quite another. So that if in fact you make a building and there are no inspections in that building, how can you approve and give occupancy? You
Well,
cannot.
The problem is we don't have sign offs on any of the projects.
Yeah, well, just theoretically,
Yeah, it's an open-ended
we-
thing typically.
we don't have, I think the conceptual point here is that we don't, and what I'm trying to clarify with Marla's statement is that we don't know what's going on unless we have access. And we then have to rely on neighbors or, maybe at some point we'll have our own drones. We can fly overhead and stuff, but there is this contingency that down the road will be more of an issue. And yeah, we may not have a solution for it right now. And you're, absolutely right. I totally concur with the Constitution, but at the same time, what are we doing here as an agency? We've got to enforce the regulations, and if they're not being enforced, then what the heck is it? You know what I mean? It's got to be considered, a trade-off to make it work.
Okay, yeah, so in this next month, I'll pull some of the forms and I'll, propose reformatting that page 3 and we can all talk about it at next month's meeting.
It's
And
an interesting.
I see the point about having the signature line for the applicant and then a signature line for the property owner if the property owner is not the applicant. Yeah.
Like in Ron Petro's case, or Petro, what would we do if he didn't grant us access? We'd be really in a hard spot.
Right, yeah.
But I don't think that we're the only people who have that issue.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's a legal way around that issue.
Right.
So I was looking to see what application forms we had online. So when you look at the town of Woodstock's, there's a button on the main page that says documents and forms. And you click that open, and the only form that the Inland Wetlands Commission has is the long form inland wetlands application. But if you go to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency portion of the governments, and there's a listing of IWWA long form application, IWWA short form application. So it has 2 application forms that are listed in the body of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency, but not on the documents and forms section. It's missing the short form application.
The whole website
So,
is really lacking in coordination. And that's why I'm glad they bring this up, because that is one of the issues that I found with the permitting regulations, and that permitting guide is that all of this stuff needs to be coordinated on the website and annually updated. And, it's just that process of putting that permitting guide together helps bring that up for me to be able to point that out, say, hey, here's a question. But what a little bit of hesitation or frustration is that people don't want to, change things. And the website is really needing a lot of attention for that kind of coordination.
well, the bylaws are there, and we were gonna look at the bylaws, but I haven't looked at them, to be honest with you. And I'm assuming that the ones that are posted on the website are the current ones. Yes, Ashley, I think you had them put up.
Yes, they should be.
So I would like,
Most current.
yeah, I would like to put that off until next month, if we could.
Yep, put that on next month's agenda.
Okay with me, I was going to propose that as a motion.
Say again, Bill, I didn't hear you.
Said that's okay with me. I was going to propose that, given the hour, that we move it to next month.
It just really needs to be coordinated with Crystal. Ashley, I think, could do that pretty well. Just updating things. May I, is this a good time, Mark? May I bring up the permitting guide?
Yep.
Any questions on that? Is that something I can go to Crystal with and say we're ready to put it up on EDC? I do think it's a work in progress. If there are changes, we can update it and revise.
Right, yeah, because as we change our forms that this document refers to,
Yeah, we got
the links will have to be, yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody have any further points or questions on that permitting guide?
I haven't reviewed it.
Stuart, I
recently enough.
didn't look at the revisions. I'm sorry, I looked at my
Oh, no
emails
problem.
too late.
Yep. Well, if you get a chance, you could take a look, see, and email me and I can proceed. I think I addressed what we talked about in last month's meeting or months before that, but yeah, I would just like to try to put it to rest, get it going.
Well, at some point you got to just jump in anyway, so.
Right. That's it. It'll never be perfect, but just sometimes got to say good enough. Go.
So you want to, we'll give you a week if we don't get any, we don't get, yeah. So if we don't get anything, whatever you get or not get from us in the next week, in a week, go ahead and work with Crystal and get it up.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, so if we, any of the rest of us get a chance to look at it in more detail, we'll try to get in any final comments to you by then, so.
Well, like, you know, to me, it's like a really, I see it at every meeting, and I think that, you know, I constantly make the same remarks, so I'm just,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Point taken.
no worries, no worries at all.
Okay.
Is it appropriate for me to say I move to adjourn?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm tired. And I'm emotionally spent. Sorry.
I move
Nice
to
to meet-
adjourn.
Second motion.
Motion's been made by Marla Butt, seconded by Bill Rowinski and Stuart Peasley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed, abstained, so moved. At 9:41 for our recording secretary's pleasure. All right.
thank you very much, Ashley.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Night.
Night.
Night.